10K of y'all in here. So we're going to talk about Target,
Yeah.
Bud Light, DEI, CEI, ESG, PRI, and
Companies
NGOs,
behind
which some of these acronyms I don't
agenda.
know. So please educate us.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple things. You guys hear about what the Oscars Academy just announced 3 weeks ago and what it takes to be nominated for an Oscar moving forward? Have you guys heard about this or no?
No.
So Hollywood just came out and announced that moving forward, to be nominated for an Academy, you have to have your leading role on any movie. A percentage of it has to be from a underrepresented community. The actors have to be part of a underrepresented community. The workers behind camera have to be part of it. A third has to be part of an underrepresented community. The editors, the shredders, the camera guys, a third have to be part of underrepresented communities. You can Google this and show it, or else you cannot be nominated.
Wow.
Meaning, and then they broke down what it means to be part of the underrepresented community. If you want to know what those 6 things are to be part of the underrepresented community, here's how they define it, to be part of the underrepresented community, okay? Number 1 is women, people of color, LGBTQ+, people with disabilities, people from low-income communities, people from rural areas, and people of indigenous heritage.
What?
If you are that, and you have a third of it in some of the categories, then you can be nominated for a Oscar. Let me explain to who does not qualify if this were to ever happen. And pretty much 99% of movies that ever won an Oscar would not be able to qualify today to do this. Here's a part that people don't realize that's going on in Hollywood. You guys know why all the creative actors escaped to go to Hollywood? Like, do you know where they escaped from to end up going to Hollywood? Jersey. Why Jersey? Hollywood used to be in Jersey. Why?
Really?
Because Thomas Edison was in Jersey. So if you go type in Thomas Edison, New Jersey, Hollywood, you'll see. The reason why they left Jersey and Thomas Edison, because it was so regulated that he said, you have to make movies based on my guidelines or else. Finally, these guys are like, screw this place. We're going to Hollywood. So to go to Hollywood, in 1920, all the major motion pictures movies that were made, 95% of all the major motion picture movies were made in Hollywood. You know what that number is today? 55 million. 4 years ago, do you know how many people watched the Oscars in America? 44 million. You know how many people watched the Oscars this year? 18.7 million. The 3 worst years of watching the Oscars in the last 20 years were the last 3 years. People are done. Today, I want to watch a movie with Sebastian Maniscalco and Robert De Niro. It's a new movie about a father, all this other stuff. Right off the bat, the movie starts with an LGBTQ community. If you watch the new, what is the new Fast and the Furious? The guy that's, what is the Aquaman? What's the guy?
Jason Momoa.
He's gay. Yeah, he's gay. In the movie, Fast and the Furious is gay. So guess what? So now people ask and say, well, I don't understand this stuff. Why are they doing this? Bud Light loses 25%. Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light loses 25% of sales since they decided to team up with Dylan Mulvaney. Target, since they announced they have a trans section because of Pride Month, their stock dropped 12%. They lost $9 billion. Target lost $9 billion in a span of roughly 2 weeks.
Damn.
Their stock dropped. Why? So people say, well, these CEOs are idiots. They're morons. You should do this. They have no clue what they're doing. You should fire this person. That's not how this thing works. So the whole thing, you have to look at how this thing comes about. So UN, United Nations, comes out with something called PRI. Then PRI starts raising money from NGOs. NGOs are non-governmental organizations. So such as Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, all these other companies that are giving them money.
Right?
You got it. Yes. So then these NGOs come out with this ESG score, and the ESG score, they have a couple different areas. One is called DEI, diversity, equity, inclusive, and then they have the CEI. I think it's called Corporate Equity Index or something like that. Then there's an organization called HRC, Human Rights Committee, that is funded by Open Society Foundation. Open Society Foundation has been given $32 billion of money by one guy named George Soros. You know George Soros?
Oh, yeah.
Open Society Foundation is George Soros' foundation. Since 1984, George Soros has given Open Society Foundation $32 billion of his own money. Not other people's money, his own money. So what does this have to do with anything? This thing, as you get deeper, it's even crazier. Do you know BlackRock? I don't know if you've heard of BlackRock,
yes.
Larry Fink. You know Vanguard, and you know State Street.
Yep.
Do you know how much money BlackRock has under management? Do you know the number of how much assets under management BlackRock has? If you were to take a wild guess, how much assets under management BlackRock has, what would you say that number is?
I'll say this: they're buying up like all the single-family homes in the United States right now.
You're a smart guy. You're a sharp guy. What would you say that number is? How much you think they have assets under management?
AUM, assets under management.
What do you think it is?
Can I give a percentage of how much assets they have? Can I just give a percentage? I don't know the exact amount, but
what dollar amount you think would be a lot of money?
I'm a guess.
Like, I'll put it to you this way. Have you heard of Guggenheim that bought the Dodgers? They have $300 billion of assets under management. Oak Tree Capital Management that gave us, we worked with them before. They have $160 billion under management. Bain Capital, massive. They have $100 billion of assets under management. What do you think BlackRock has as assets under management?
I'm going to say between 500 to 600 billion then.
You ready? $11 trillion.
Wow.
Did you hear what I just said?
Holy
$11 trillion. By the way,
wow.
I swear to you.
10 and a half, $11 trillion. Do you know what the U.S. GDP was last year? 32 trillion.
Yeah.
So America as a business did 32 trillion last year. BlackRock has $11 trillion. BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street combined have roughly a 10% stake to 15% stake on 88% of S&P 500 companies. Let me say that one more time.
Wow.
BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street collectively have roughly 10 to 15% of equity in nearly 88% of S&P 500 companies.
That's fucking crazy.
And
top 500 companies in the United States.
Top 500 companies in the United States. 24.9% of board seats are controlled by BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. Nearly 88% of these guys. So what does this mean? Guess what they do? They control everything.
Yeah.
They control everything. So they get to tell the companies, if you want to borrow money from me, for example, let's just say your name is Dodgers. You're like, man, if we want to really give this guy a contract for $400 million over 10 years, let's go raise the money. All right. Hey, can you give us some money here? No problem. BlackRock, here's $100 million. Bank of America, here's $100 million. Goldman Sachs, here's $200 million. Go offer this guy a $400 million contract, but your ESG score is low. What I need you to do is I need you at the Dodgers game to have a lesbian non-indulgence. I don't know if you guys saw the story or not. Have you guys seen this thing? What happened at Dodger Stadium?
I haven't seen it.
Okay, anyway, so this whole story comes out with there's an organization called Something of Indulgence where transgender men are out there and doing what they're doing because Dodgers has to increase their ESG score.
These are the people that probably are reading books to kids and all this other stuff. Same
That's
organization.
Exactly
probably?
what it is. So again, the point with these guys, the money guys are imposing high ESG score. I'll give you this final thoughts for you guys to be thinking about how deep this is getting. You know what the top five highest ESG scores in America is? Number 5 is Bank of America. Number 4 is Salesforce. Number 3 is Microsoft. Number 2 is Intel. And number 1 is Alphabet. You know what are some of the companies with the worst ESG scores in America? Tesla, one of the worst.
Yep.
Tesla's fixing the environment, helping the environment to have one of the worst.
Yep.
Twitter is one of them.
Yep.
You got Xerox is one of them. AT&T is one of them. I can give you Fox Corporate is one of them.
Sure.
These companies who have low ESG scores, they're not controlled by those guys, but those guys don't give them a good score, so they have a hard time raising more money from other people. It's a mess on what they're doing. Say that again.
Do you know what ESG stands for? I was going to.
Yeah, environmental social governance. Environmental social governance, I believe.
So is that like basically your how woke you are?
How woke you are.
It's your woke score.
Yes.
That's exactly what it is.
So it's funny because
you know, there's a social credit score that they do in China. This is your corporate
and environmental service.
Environmental social governance. I want to say.
Okay. So it's funny. You don't take over or destroy infrastructure from outside. You do it from the inside. And control happens when people have to follow either a regimen or, for example, a system. And the ESG score is basically our literal credit score. So for companies, like you said before, to borrow money, you need to have the score A1. If you don't, you can't borrow money. So they're going to squeeze them saying, hey, you know what? Do these things. And if you don't do it, you can't borrow money. So they have to do it. So Bud Light had to, on some level, to stay relevant or stay in the, I want to say, marketplace itself, do these things to actually be a competitor and borrow money as well.
So you think they probably sold their soul, borrowed money, and that's why they had to do that stupid ass ad? This is why Gillette did the controversial toxic masculinity ad. Because I've always been wondering, like, why are they taking crazy risks and ostracizing their consumer base?
Say you don't do it, but you know what happens if you don't do it? They control the board seats. If you don't do it, guess what the board is doing to you? They're firing you.
Right.
How many people you think want a job paying you $25 million a year salary? How many people you think would like to be the CEO of Anheuser-Busch? How many people you think would want to be a CEO of Target? How many people you think want that job? 1,000 people?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Guys that went to Harvard, Yale, Princeton.
Of course.
There's 1,000 guys that want that job. How many people you think are willing to do all of those things for $25 million a year salary? Plenty of people.
Everyone.
You know, it's funny.
Plenty of people.
With BlackRock, I was going to say 10 trillion because they're literally buying every single thing, even close to buildings as well, and single family.
Yeah.
Which means they're going to control pretty much all of our
They're a
huge
big
portion
reason why we have a housing shortage, so to speak.
on purpose.
Yeah.
But once again, what is it? All control. If I
Yeah.
control how you do behind the scenes, I really control the company. Even though you're the face of it, I control the behind the scenes.
So now somebody says something like, well, how do you fight these guys, man? How the hell do you fight these guys?
Okay, that's my question, bro.
Exactly.
Because I, in my possible simple mindset, can't imagine how you can fight that.
Do you know why we're even able to have this conversation right now together?
Free speech?
Do you know why we're able to have this conversation right now? Okay, a Jewish man, a Middle Eastern man, a black man, and
Arab guy.
okay.
Muslim
But
guy.
watch four of us.
Could be better.
How different we are, and we're sitting at a table right now, and 9835 is right now watching live. Do you know why we're able to do this right now?
Because we're niggas?
No, because of probably, I will say, 1,000 anti-establishment people in the last 270 years in America. That's why. And those 1,000 anti-establishment guys fought for you and I, and they've never met you. You'll never meet them. You don't even know what they went through. You don't know how they targeted their families, all this other stuff. You and I are able to have this conversation because the world still has few anti-establishment guys that can't be bought and can't be bullied. Power to those guys that are not afraid to fight.